Allo, allo.
Hello, hello. Yeah, it's all right. Can I say something?
No, it's okay.
Just to greet the people?
You want to ask to him.
Oh, yeah.
هذا هيك بعيد. To sit in their place to be asking.
So please, everyone will sit.
Yeah, that's fine. Good morning, everyone. Can we please take our seats so that we can resume with the day? Can we please all take our seats? An official welcome and to the 5th Global Convention in Solidarity with Palestine. I am Ms. Duduzile Mahlangu Masango. I'm the chairperson of the Board of Africa for Palestine. It is an honor for us to stand here and welcome you all from all the different parts of the globe. I thought I was tall. That's fine. Okay, thank you. We welcome you from all the different parts of the globe. This is a very important day as South Africa, as the Royal House of Chief of the Mandela family. We are gathered here today to show our solidarity to the Palestinian people. We all know as we sit here what is happening in Gaza, what is happening in Palestine currently. It is now time for us to remember all the people in Palestine, all the people in Gaza. As a South African, I stand with pride to show our solidarity, because this is not only an event for us, but it is something that we are giving back. As South Africans during our struggle,
لكن نحن كنا كمان
on their shoulders. They were our pillar of strength, and today it is our turn to give back to the Palestinians. But before we continue with much, I will introduce my friend. He will introduce himself. This is the person I will be co-directing or co-hosting with. Over to you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه. باسم الحملة العالمية للعودة إلى فلسطين والبيت الملكي لعائلة مانديلا، نرحب بكم في جوهانسبرغ جنوب أفريقيا في هذا الملتقى الدولي الخامس للتضامن مع فلسطين، الذي يعقد تحت عنوان نيلسون مانديلا وفلسطين من مواجهة العنصرية إلى التحرير. وإذ يتجدد العدوان الصهيوني الآثم المجرم على أحبائنا، على أهلنا، على أطفالنا، على أعراضنا، على أرضنا، يكون من الطبيعي أن يتحول عنوان هذا اللقاء إلى أوقفوا العدوان، أوقفوا العدوان، أوقفوا العدوان. هذه هي رسالتنا التي يجب أن ننقلها بقوة وحزم وإباء إلى العالم كله، لكي نفتح الأعين العمي والآذان الصم عن الحقيقة، لكي يعلموا أن فلسطين حرة وستبقى حرة بفضل شعبها وجهاده وتضحياته. نقف لكي نستمع إلى النشيدين الوطنيين لجنوب أفريقيا وفلسطين. سنضطر أن نقف لثوان أخرى لو سمحتم. تحية لأرواح شهداء الكفاح ضد التمييز العنصري في جنوب أفريقيا، للأحرار في أفريقيا السمراء لؤلؤة الأرض، وتحية لأرواح عظماء هذه الأمة شهداء الشعب الفلسطيني العظيم. نقف خاشعين مع قراءة سورة الفاتحة. شكرا لكم. في حياة الأمم والشعوب قصص تتحول إلى مصدر إلهام. كثيرا ما يبحث بعض الناس عن هذا الإلهام في كتب التاريخ، ويغفلون أو لا ينتبهون أن الواقع قد يكون مليئا وغنيا بأعظم هذه القصص. من هنا، من جنوب إفريقيا، أرض الرجال والنساء الذين آمنوا بحقوقهم وكافحوا وقدموا وأنتجوا رمزا عظيما لهم وللبشرية اسمه نيلسون مانديلا. من هنا، من أرض الإلهام، نتوجه إلى أعظم مثل للإلهام في عصرنا، إلى الشعب الذي آمن وكافح، الذي تعرض ولا يزال يتعرض للظلم والقتل، إلى الشعب الذي يحاول الكثيرون حتى اليوم إنكار وجوده كشعب، لكنه رأى طريقه وسار فيه رغم الآلام والتضحيات. إنه شعب الإلهام، شعب فلسطين، الذي يضيء لنا أعظم دروب الحرية، من يافا إلى الأغوار، من الخليل إلى الجليل، من القدس، من الناصرة، من النقب، من غزة، من جنين، من آلاف المدن والقرى، حيث الوجوه التي تعلمنا فن الحياة. باسم الحملة العالمية للعودة إلى فلسطين مرة ثانية، والبيت الملكي لعائلة مانديلا، ومعظم الجمعيات المدنية التي ساهمت في التحضير لعقد هذا الملتقى، أرحب بكم، وأرجو أن يكون لقاؤكم هذا وما سوف يثمر عنه من تحركات وأفعال، أرجو أن يكون ذلك كله على مستوى الملحمة الكبرى التي يخوضها أحباؤنا وشعبنا في فلسطين في مواجهة آلة الدمار النازية الوحشية الإسرائيلية الأمريكية الغربية. أهلا وسهلا بكم.
Thank you, Adib.
شكرا جزيلا.
We will have we are now going to welcome
الآن نرحب
we are now going to welcome
الآن ونرحب زلوكي مانديلا
who is our,
الذي سيكون.
as we all know that in South Africa it has taken us a lot to be a part of Palestine solidarity. Without the Palestinians, the South Africans would not be where they are today. From the time that we were struggling during the apartheid system and during the apartheid struggle, Palestine was the one who was carrying us on their shoulders. Our former president and our first democratic president and a true friend of Palestine, the late Tata Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela, said it very clearly that we are not free until Palestine is free. As we welcome on stage Chief Nkosi Zwelile Mandela, can we please welcome him with a warm welcome of applause? As he will share with us the motive of the day. Over to you, Baba.
Program Director, Mamu Duduzile Mahlangu Masango of Africa for Palestine. Allow me to acknowledge your co-MC, Sheikh Hadib. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to acknowledge the General Coordinator for the Global Campaign to Return to Palestine, Sheikh Yusuf, Sheikh Hadib, and the executive members of GCRP, the entire GCRP team, ministers, and diplomats. Allow me to acknowledge our Deputy Minister, Obed Bapela, who has joined us, Palestinian resistant formations that are present here in Gaza and in occupied Palestine, the international solidarity networks who have come in their numbers to support and be part of this occasion, that being Africa for Palestine, the South African BDS Coalition, Al-Quds Foundation, the Muslim Judiciary Council, and many other solidarity groups gathered here. Members of Parliament in South Africa, in SADC region, on the African continent, and in the international community, members of the Diplomatic Corps, veterans of the South African struggle, and the entire leadership of the Alliance, members of the ANC, the ACP, COSATU and SANCO, the representatives of religious and faith organizations, compatriots in arms from Africa, Asia, Latin America, North America, Europe, and in the Middle East. Members of the local organizing committee, to my respected elders, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, and for those that I've missed out and not acknowledged in a true South African manner, allow me to say all protocol observed. Molweni, dumelang bagaetsu, sanbonani, good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you all. Peace and blessings be upon our noble Prophet Muhammad.
Wa-
Peace and blessings be upon him, his family and righteous companions. Peace be upon the souls of the martyrs of Palestine through the generations whose sacrifice gathers us here in solidarity and determination to end the unjust occupation and to restore justice in Gaza and all over occupied Palestine.
اللي في غزة.
On behalf of my wife, who often wants to be a backbencher and is seated all the way at the back, Rabia, on behalf of my kids and my mother and our entire family in the Royal House of Mandela, and the global campaign to return to Palestine, we take this opportunity to welcome you to our beloved country, South Africa, as we honor the memory of the 10th anniversary of the passing of our global icon of justice, peace, and human rights and human dignity for all. His Excellency President Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela,
الحضرة الرئيس نيلسون مانديلا الذي كان يقف مع الجنوب الأفريقيين.
we welcome you to Africa, the continent where 54 countries were occupied by colonial powers, and we fought long and bitter wars of liberation. By the grace of Almighty Allah, 53 of those countries have achieved freedom, and freedom in our lifetime. We shall too raise the flag in a free Palestine and achieve freedom in our lifetime. Comrades and friends, first and foremost, we give thanks and praise to the Almighty for the opportunity to host so many illustrious leaders from more than 70 countries who have traveled a long distances to be with us in this 5th International Convention in solidarity with Palestine, honoring the occasion of the 10th anniversary of the passing of President Mandela. Together, we shall march onward until Palestine is free. My grandfather is popularly known as Madiba, and indeed the entire leadership and cadres of our liberation movements smile today because the world has responded to the plight of the Palestinian people. We greet all who are participating virtually in our proceedings today. We feel your presence and appreciate your support wherever you
تشجيع
may be.
لجنوب أفريقيا
And for those
في أي
that are
مكان
following
كنت
live from the international media houses,
في أي مكان كنت.
we salute the heroes of Gaza and all of occupied Palestine, even the rubble
الشهداء
and
لقد
heaps of stone shout out in support of the just struggle. Brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, the 5th Convention of International Solidarity with Palestine and the global campaign to return to Palestine is neither a symbolic gesture nor a mere aspiration. On the contrary, it is rooted in the firm belief and conviction that every Palestinian has a right to his and her land and the land of his and her forefathers. This can only be achieved when Palestine is liberated from the scourge of imperialism, occupation, and the shackles of racism and repression, and the effects of more than 75 years of the Nakba, the catastrophe as it unfolds in Gaza and all over occupied Palestine as we speak. Comrades and friends, it warms my heart to see so many of you present this morning and committed to what Madiba called the greatest moral issue of our time. Your presence is neither coincidental nor an accident. It is an expression of the highest commitment to liberate Al-Aqsa and all of occupied Palestine. We salute the resistance across all its formations in Gaza, all of occupied Palestine, Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and in Iraq, as well as Iran. We want to take this opportunity to salute our political prisoners that are languishing in Palestinian jails and repeat the call. As we have seen Ahed Tamimi being released, we want to make a call for all Palestinian women who suffer abuse in apartheid Israeli jails to be released immediately. This morning, comrades and friends, we join the millions around the world who stand with the Palestinian struggle, and as they march for freedom in Palestine, across all cities of the world, as they inspire us with renewed faith and confidence in the just cause that gathers us here as a collective this morning. Brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, as we honor the memory of President Nelson Mandela on the occasion of his 10th anniversary of his passing, we recall his historic words when he said that, I quote, "Prisoners can't negotiate, only free men can negotiate," close quote. He set 3 conditions that defined our march to freedom as South Africans. Those 3 conditions are as relevant to the struggle in Palestine today as it was back then for us in South Africa. Today, we make a call for the release of all political prisoners languishing in apartheid Israeli jails. Today, we make a call for the right of return for all Palestinians in the diaspora. Today, we make a call to restore political freedom in one single state in which all Muslims, Christians and Jews,
جميع المسلمين واليهود والمسلمين وجميع الناس جميع الناس من كل الإيمان أن يعيشوا معا جنبا بجنب بالسلام.
The heroic struggle that the Mujahideen are waging, and our thoughts and prayers are with them.
وأيضا دعوتنا مع المجاهدين هناك في غزة.
Comrades and friends,
الأعزائي،
our struggle is against racist Zionist
كانت كنا مع ضد الاستعمار والعنصرية
which is to exterminate all Palestinians and usurp their land. This is not unlike the Bantustan homelands created by the apartheid South Africa regime.
على عكس الصراع الذي كان موجود في جنوب أفريقيا، هذا صراع واضح. هذا فوق إبادة جميع الفلسطينيين من أرضهم. لماذا كما لم نقبل هذا الوضع على نفسنا في جنوب أفريقيا، كيف نضاف على هذا الوضع في فلسطين؟ حل الولايتين في فلسطين ولايتين متفرقتين، هذا الحل لم يعد موجودا الآن.
Apartheid was merely using it surreptitiously
التفرقة العنصرية كان يستخدم قواه فقط لسرقة المزيد من الأراضي وتوسع السلطة. كما قال السيد الرئيس سيريل رامابوسا،
abandon separate development, racism, and apartheid in occupied Palestine.
هذه التفرقة العنصرية وسرقة الأراضي أكثر في فلسطين. سوف نحرر الأقصى وكل الأراضي المحتلة.
Until victory dawns on Palestine.
لن نرتاح حتى ينتصر كل فلسطين.
Indeed, it is a very brave and courageous oath.
بالفعل هذا قسم شجاع نقول أمام الله شاهدنا، فلسطين سوف تكون حرة من النهر إلى البحر.
Comrades and friends,
زملائي انضموا إلي في افتتاح هذا المؤتمر الخامس في الدفاع عن فلسطين. أمل أن هذا الاجتماع والاجتماعات الأخرى سوف تساهم في تحرير فلسطين في حياتنا.
The land was usurped by colonial power. Homes were destroyed and families were torn apart. The world stood idle and watched. Decades have gone by, and the world still
عقود مرت
supporting the colonizer, sponsoring its crimes with hundreds of billions of dollars, supplying the murderers with the murder weapons.
فقط القتل الموالون بالملايين من الدولارات.
Only persisted. It escalated. More children were orphaned, more parents lost their and more innocent Palestinians were displaced and calling home for thousands of years. Yet despite the agony and trauma, Palestinians carry on. They fight, defy, resist, an unwavering courage that yields to no might, a steadfast determination that bows to none, a resolute will that perseveres against all odds. Palestinians cling to their homes, they cling to their land, they cling to their identity, to their culture, to their resistance, to their roots. Palestinians cling to an olive tree planted in a 5-meter yard. They drink their morning coffee below its branches, recite their studies in its shade, sing a lullaby while the baby snoozes off in a crib and the moon casts its dim light on the tree. Despite the endless attempts to censor the truth by biased media and oppressive governments, reality prevails and is crystal clear for all those who seek it. Indeed, it is an unjust order that enabled the continuous suffering of an oppressed people, yet the chants of freedom echo worldwide. It turns out that for decades we have been deliberately misinformed on Palestine. Yes, the story of Palestine is that of suffering and pain, but it's also a story of resilience and power. Palestine cannot be confined to a word or a feeling. Palestine is a whole broad spectrum of emotions that forever reverberates in our hearts. And here we are chanting with the brave ones, Free Palestine. For more than 75 years, the Palestinian people have been suffering.
Thank you very much.
شكرا جزيلا.
very true. Palestine cannot be conformed into rebels.
صحيح هذا فلسطين ليست فقط الرماد. نحن قلنا اليوم لنتأكد من أن صوت فلسطين سوف يرفع في كل العالم حتى يحصلون على كل حريتهم، وجميع الشعوب من جنوب أفريقيا والأردن ولبنان وتركيا واليونان ومصر من أي مكان. نحن نؤمن أن فلسطين سوف تتحرر. اليوم سنؤكد على هذه الرسالة أن فلسطين سوف تتحرر في حياتنا. عندما نكمل الآن سوف نسمع بعض من المشاركين عن قصصهم الخاصة الذين سوف يشاركونها معنا ليوضحون لنا الصورة عن كيفية أو طبيعة العيش في فلسطين، ليس اليوم فقط لكن من 75 عاما. هذه ليست حرب. أنا أكره أن أسمي هذا الصراع حرب. هذا ليس حرب لأن لا يوجد الطرفين مساويين. هذا احتلال، هذا تفرقة عنصرية، ليست حرب. إسلام هو فلسطيني أصاب في الانتفاضة الثانية. هو هنا اليوم ليشارك معنا. نرى على هذا الكرسي يشارك معنا ماذا حدث له وكيف يشعر. يحكي لنا ويقول لنا أماني عن حرية الأراضي. تفضل إسلام.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين. الحمد لله على نعمة الجهاد وعلى نعمة غزة وعلى نعمة فلسطين. أولا نرحب بكم كل باسمه ولقبه ونرسل لكم تحيات أهلنا من أطفالنا وشيوخنا ونساؤنا ومجاهدينا. ألف سلام. السلام عليكم. أولا فلسطين هي أرض الأنبياء، عاشوا فيها وماتوا فيها. فلسطين هي أرض المعجزات السماوية. فلسطين هي أرض المسجد الأقصى. فلسطين هي أرض كنيسة القيامة وأرض عيسى عليه السلام وأرض أمنا مريم. فلسطين هي أرض الإسراء والمعراج، منها صعد الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى السماء. فلسطين أيها الإخوة الكرام من سماؤها فرضت الصلاة على المسلمين. فلسطين آية من آيات القرآن، من ينكر هذه الآية ينكر وجود فلسطين. فلسطين هي أرض التين والزيتون وأرض البرتقال والليمون. فلسطين هي الأرض التي حررها عمر بن الخطاب. فلسطين هي الأرض التي حررها صلاح الدين الأيوبي. فلسطين هي أرض الجهاد والرباط وما زالت كذلك. فلسطين هي الأرض التي قدمت منذ آلاف السنين الشهداء والجرحى والأسرى لأجل مصرانا. فلسطين يعيش فيها أناس هم شهداء يمشون على الأرض، كل واحد منهم ينتظر دوره في الشهادة، يطبقون الآية التي تقول: ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. فلسطين هي الأرض الوحيدة في العالم الذي يوجد فيها شهيد يحمل شهيد، شهيد يودع شهيد، شهيد يصلي على شهيد، شهيد يدفن شهيد. فلسطين هي الأرض المحتلة من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي منذ 75 عام. فلسطين هي الأرض التي يعيش شعبها بجهاده وإيمانه وصبره منذ 75 عام ضد هذا المحتل. فلسطين هي الأرض التي يوجد فيها في كل بيت شهيد، وفي كل بيت جريح، وفي كل بيت أسير، وفي كل بيت مجاهد. فلسطين هي الأرض التي يعيش فيها أناس يؤمنون أن الله غايتنا، والقرآن دستورنا، والرسول قدوتنا، والجهاد في سبيل الله أسمى أمانينا. فلسطين هي يوسف عليه السلام، فلسطين هي يوسف عليه السلام. وأيضا فلسطين من تخلى عنها من العرب ومن الدول العربية والإسلامية هم إخوة يوسف. منذ 75 عام والاحتلال يهجر أهلنا من مدينة القدس والضفة تحت قوة السلاح، يهدم محلاتهم التجارية ويسرق أراضيهم ويبني عليها بيوت لهم. ولكن الشعب الفلسطيني يجاهد رغم إمكانياته القليلة منذ 75 عام، لم يستسلم. الاحتلال بسلاحه بأحذيته بكلابه يقتحمون المسجد الأقصى ويقتحمون مساجدنا في مدينة القدس، والعالم يشاهد ذلك، كان يشاهد وما زال يشاهد مع الأسف. ولكن المقاومة لم تنسى ذلك. الاحتلال الصهيوني يحرقون مقابرنا في مدينة القدس، ويحرقون مقابر إخواننا المسيحيين في مدينة القدس، والعالم صم بكم، ولكن المقاومة الإسلامية لم تنسى ذلك. أيها الإخوة الكرام، الاحتلال وعلى الشاشات في البث المباشر في البث المباشر يسبون رسولنا الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم، ويمزقون القرآن الكريم، وأيضا يبزقون على كنائسنا في مدينة القدس. ورغم ذلك العالم لا يريد يرى ذلك. الاحتلال يضع الحواجز في مدينة القدس ويضع الكاميرات في مدينة القدس ليراقب أهلنا وأخواتنا وأمهاتنا في مدينة القدس، ويمنع عائلاتنا من زيارة بعضهم البعض. الاحتلال الإسرائيلي أنتم رأيتم ذلك أيضا، يضربون أمهاتنا ويعتدون على نساؤنا بناتنا، ويعتدون على أطفالنا، ويعتدون على شبابنا، لكن المقاومة بإذن الله لم تنسى ذلك. أيها الإخوة الكرام، أريد أن أقول لكم أننا في غزة الحمد لله المقاومة جهزت للعدو الآلاف المؤلفة، جهزت للعدو الآلاف المؤلفة لتحرير نساؤنا وأطفالنا وشيوخنا، الآلاف المؤلفة تحت سجون الاحتلال لا يرون القمر ولا يرون الشمس، يعذبون كل دقيقة كل ساعة كل يوم. هؤلاء لا يأتي إليهم الطعام الكافي، هؤلاء لا يأتي إليهم العلاج الكافي. المئات من المرضى ماتوا داخل سجون الاحتلال، ولكن المقاومة جهزت لتحرير هؤلاء الأسرى. أخيرا نقول للاحتلال أنكم كما أتيتم إلى أرض فلسطين إلى أرض فلسطين تحت قوة السلاح، لن تخرجوا من فلسطين إلا تحت قوة السلاح. الاحتلال لا يعرف لغة غير لغة السلاح، الاحتلال لا يعرف لغة غير لغة القتل. ونقول للاحتلال أنكم كما أتيتم أحياء إلى أرض فلسطين، سيأتي اليوم القريب الذي نرسلكم فيه أمواتا إلى خارج فلسطين بإذن الله. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Islam.
شكرا جزيلا أسلم.
Understanding very well where all this
فهمنا
comes from.
جيدا ما تحدثت
We're
عنه،
not only conformed to that chair, thinking
ولكن
they are shutting down your voice, but little did they know that they
لا
are
يفهمون
opening
يعني أنك تجلس على
a
هذا
voice
الكرسي،
to be louder than
وهذه
they thought
هي
to be silent.
كانت يعني الصوت كانت عاليا جدا. وشكرا
And I
جزيلا.
trust that the globe is listening.
وأصدق العالم تسمع هذه، كما ندعو البسيم نايم التي جاء من اللاينس من فلسطينيين النشطاء الفلسطينيين.
قبل أن يبدأ الأستاذ باسم، ومع كل التقدير والاحترام، يحق لإفريقيا ولمن تكلم شاهدا ما لا يحق لغيره. للأجلاء الفضلاء الكبار أعزاؤنا وعيوننا ضيوفنا المتكلمون سيلتزمون بالوقت إن شاء الله. أهلا وسهلا بكم، وهو المحدد كما تم الاتفاق عليه.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام.
Peace be upon you, everyone.
General and my people in Gaza in particular. I stand before you today.
بالشعب الفلسطيني عموما وشعب غزة خاصة.
20,000
أقف أمامكم اليوم أكون صوت 20,000 شهيد من قبل النظام الإسرائيلي.
2.3 million Palestinians who are still suffering of the genocidal atrocities of this regime. I am here today in front of you. Maybe it was a plan from Allah. I left Gaza a few days before October 7th for some meeting in Istanbul. Then I was prevented to return back. I am the member of political bureau of Hamas in Gaza. And honest, I am filled with pride and glory to be a son of this heroic city, Gaza, which has openly declared its willingness to sacrifice and to murder them for our sincere national goals and objectives. And indeed, for the salvation of humanity from the nasty entity known as the Zionist regime. Here to begin with, I extend my heartful and warm thanks and appreciation to all who has given us this opportunity and to organize this very important and significant conference. In the forefront of them, the Honorable Brother Mandela. To commemorate the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. At this time, it is organized while the Israeli regime continues its genocidal actions for 55 days against our people in Gaza and in Palestine in general. Today we are here in South Africa, the country of the iconic leader and global advocate, late Nelson Mandela, we recall his words, "Our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians." We as Palestinians view South Africa as a vivid example of oppressed people succeeding against oppression and oppressor, and serving for us as a profound inspiration to believe in our ability to defeat the Zionist regime. The current situation in Gaza has two faces. The face one is the face of courage and legendary resilience of our Palestinian people, men and women and children, the strong and steadfastness of our resistance. And the other one is the disastrous humanitarian situation of the catastrophe caused by the Zionist entity for 55 days. Brothers and sisters, comrades, friends, the 7th of October operations will remain a pivotal and distinctive milestone in the history of our struggle against the Zionist regime and the Zionist project.
ضد الاحتلال.
And the potential for its defeat.
وإمكانية.
It is a clear declaration that besieged people, 2.3 million people who were for 17 years suffocated under the Israeli siege supported by the Americans with very limited
مصادرهم محدودة جدا جدا.
A super regional power with its army and all its supportive intelligences. However, the story didn't start on October 7th. It is the story or the toll of people under occupation and oppression for more than 7 decades. Likewise, this is not specifically about Gaza or even about Hamas or about resistance. It is about Palestine. All Palestine, Gaza, the West Bank, Al-Quds, and even Palestinians in the diaspora. What the Zionist enemy has done against the Palestinian people for 7 decades is exactly the same or similar to what's happening today in Gaza. The history of Palestinian people is full of massacres, killings, and destructions. We must remember that during the Nakba, more than 500 villages and towns were demolished, and more than half of the Palestinian people have been forcefully expelled. The ongoing killing and destruction and displacement and ethnic cleansing in Gaza show the real picture of this Zionist ideology founded on stripping others of their humanity and depriving them of their rights. However, this time in Gaza, thanks to social media, we have been able to access the truth and to bypass the mainstream media who presented themselves as complicit with the aggressors and their allies. We have witnessed major international media outlets repeating the same empty enemy propaganda and transforming themselves into tools of the Zionist Hasbara. The images conveyed from Gaza are but a fraction of the harsh reality today in Gaza. Because the enemy sought to hinder journalists to access Gaza by cutting all communications facilities, killing over 74 journalists, and preventing the entry of any foreign journalist. Thus, once the aggression ceases, we will discover the true extent of the devastation done by the Zionist regime in Gaza, as the Israeli army promised to turn Gaza into the Stone Age. And here I want to use this opportunity to point that not only in Gaza, but even in the West Bank, where there is no October 7th and no Hamas, the aggression against our people in the West Bank and in Jerusalem continued all the time along these 55 days, so that we have at least more than 250 shaheed and more than 3,000 prisoners or arrested in very inhumane conditions. In the last few years, Benjamin Netanyahu and his extremist government and his allies were able to persuade all the parties in the region and outside the region that they can bypass or evade our Palestinian people through the so-called Abraham Accords and the normalization agreements with some Arabic countries or with some Islamic countries. However, October 7th came to prove that no one and no power, no force
شعبنا من خلال التطبيع مع بعض الدول العربية والغير عربية. حرمان الشعب الفلسطيني من حقوقه الأساسية. كثير من الناس سياسيين وصحفيين يسألون
What we are calling for now is stop the aggression immediately and unconditionally.
ما ننادي له الآن هو إيقاف العدوان والدمار على غزة والسماح بكل المساعدات البشرية بالدخول إلى غزة. الكثير من الفلسطينيون وبالخصوص في غزة يناشدون الكثير من الجماعات العربية وخصوصا الإسلامية، الكثير من الناس على مدار 55 يوم كان الناس يعانون، لا يوجد طعام، لا يوجد وقود، لا يوجد كهرباء، وعند الحدود تم منع كل المساعدات الإنسانية من المرور إلى غزة. أكثر من 55,000 عائلة الآن يواجهون ظروف الشتاء القاسية.
In some schools we have 20-30,000 of men and women and children. In one room of these schools we have 50, 60 and 70 men and women and children. They can use only one toilet. They can use only one water resource. We have to rebuild immediately all the destroyed and hospitals and primary health care centers. Can you imagine that 2.3 million Palestinians are now denied of the basic humanitarian services, not only for the wounded people, but also for simple, ordinary people with diabetic, with hypertensive, pregnant women. We are demanding the immediate entry of hundreds of heavy equipments and machinery to retrieve thousands of our beloved people who are still under the rubble. We urge all journalists, media personnel, free supporters of Palestine, and various media institutions worldwide to come to Gaza to document the Zionist war crimes, continue defending the Palestinian narrative and challenging the Zionist myths. We are calling to continue demonstrating and being at the streets to pressure the governments and international community to change their helpless stances in front of these genocidal acts. Boycott and isolate the Israeli government, the Israeli regime. Bring the Zionist war criminals to the national and international courts. Lift the blockade on Gaza immediately, comprehensively, and unconditionally. We must continue our journey with your support to get rid of this occupation and to establish our Palestinian independent democratic state with Al-Quds as a capital, and to preserve and to assure and to secure the right of all displaced people to return back to their homes and villages. Palestine, including every inch, is belonging to the Palestinians. I call on you, don't leave Gaza alone, and don't leave Palestine alone. It is the struggle of humanity against the evil. Free Palestine. Thank you very much.
It is never easy to stop a Palestinian when they start talking. And that I know from experience, long experience. I keep pushing myself next to them, but they never stop. But it is
لأجل هذا لسه ما وقفت يعني الأخ.
Very true.
وهذه هي صديق جدا.
For the next speaker, Hassan Turan, a member of parliament and the chairman of the Friendship Committee with Palestine and Turkey. And he is also a member of parliament from the ruling Aki party. Am I correct? Aki party. Mr. Hassan Turan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sayın Başkan, Sayın Mandela, dünyanın çeşitli ülkelerinden gelen değerli delegasyon, çağımızın en büyük mezaliminin yaşandığı Filistin konusunda duyarlı olan kıymetli dostlar, sözlerime başlarken hepinizi şahsım ve ülkem adına saygıyla selamlıyorum. Dünyadaki adaletsizliklere, haksızlıklara karşı kınayıcıların
dear delegations from various countries of the world, dear friends who are sensitive about Palestine, where the greatest atrocity of our time is taking place. All protocols observed. As I begin my words, I respectfully greet all of you on behalf of myself and my country. I convey to you the most heartful greetings of our
yüreğinde hisseden aziz milletimizin en kalbi selamlarını
أنقل إليكم سلام رئيسنا السيد رجب
in the world without fearing the condemnation of the condemners, and who defends the just cause of the Palestinian people on every platform. Speaker of the Turkish Grand National Assembly, Mr. Numan Kurtulmus, and my beloved nation, who embraces the oppressed, wherever there is and feels their pain in their hearts. I am very pleased to be in the country of Nelson Mandela, a man of course who put his life on the line for the freedom of his people and better world. His struggle is the best example for the oppressed and exploited people of today. The support of South African people with all their colors who suffered from all kinds of oppression and discrimination. But African countries have earned their freedoms not by the grace of
sahip olmak yeterlidir. Afrika ülkeleri özgürlüklerini belli güçlerin lütfuyla değil, bizim gibi
the Palestinian people whose lands have been occupied for years, whose souls have been damaged, and whose most basic human rights have been taken away and are taking firm steps on this path. From here, I respectfully salute all the people, especially the people of Turkey and South Africa, who are fighting hard against global bandits by paying great prices. I congratulate and respectfully salute the oppressed but proudly resisting people of Gaza, who did not leave their homeland in defiance of all kinds of oppression and intimidation policies, who gave up their lives even though they were tested and with inhumane brutality, but who never gave up their freedom. Dear friends, the policies implemented by the occupying administration for 75 years are main reason for the conflict and tensions in the Middle East. The policies implemented by the occupying administration for 75 years are the main reason for the conflict on the tension of the Middle East. Israel's expansionist policy and violent attitude block diplomatic channels. Our main concern is attempts to depopulate Gaza. These day and night bombardments, which are more effective than 3 atomic bombs, caused the death of more than 6,000 children and more than 16,000 innocent civilians. They are nearly inflicting genocide on 2.5 million who are cut off from food, fuel, medicine, bread, electricity, water and communication, and squeezed into 360-kilometer open-air prison. They burnt and destroyed Gaza in 50 days in front of the eyes of the whole world. They committed all the kinds of atrocity and left a dark mark on human history. They hit schools, hospitals and homes. They did everything that should not have been a war crime. Such brutality has never been seen in this age. We are concerned that the irrational and inhumane practices of the Zionist regime may cause a regional or even worldwide war because Israel does not recognize international agreements and international law. While people who have not lost their conscience and have common sense support the Palestinian people with demonstrations that are growing like an avalanche all over the world. Israel, which is committing genocide, is being condemned. The oppression of Israel, which does not recognize the land of Palestinians,
telin edilmektedir. Filistinlilere, kendi vatanlarına çok gören İsrail'in zulmü dünyanın her yerini adeta Filistin'e dönüştürmüştür. İşgalci İsrail'in yöneticileri bu yaptıklarıyla
or forget the Gaza massacre. We will never forget the massacre. This genocide will not will not let it be forgotten. We will never forget, we will never let anyone forget the images and the pain of these dismembered babies, children's bodies being collected by their parents, cries of mothers and women, the images of pain of people who cannot look at the sky for fear of bombings, who try to sleep with their ears covered at night. Because of genocide forgotten can and will be repeated. The Netanyahu administration has committed a great crime and must be punished. As the people of the world, we must put forward stronger reactions against this massacre, which has started again after humanitarian break. We must consciously express our objection and reactions in the streets and squares, in spite of Western capitals that are trying to give Israel a breather to continue its massacre. Global conscience will eventually defeat global evil and immoral warmongers. If Israel is not stopped, tomorrow will be too late. We live in such a world that everywhere except Gaza is under occupation. We are all occupied. This is a war in a human dignity transcends the earth. Because there is no place left on the earth for dignity to land. How long will we remain silent in the face of those innocent civilians being brutally murdered with phosphorus and cluster bombs, and their tiny bodies being torn to shreds? I am ashamed to be in such an insensitive world in this day and age. The current prosperity of the so-called civilized world is based on its ongoing colonialism, the blood it has shed, the tears it has shed, and the pain it has inflicted. But this must change now. In the words of our President, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, we must shout louder the fact that the world is bigger than 5. Palestinian murder obsessive Netanyahu's thirst for bloodshed and claiming of lives to prolong the political life should be prevented. Lasting peace depends on the establishment of a contagious, sovereign and independent state of Palestine, with Jerusalem as its capital. If this cannot be achieved, it is not possible for peace to come to the region and the world. Our expectation from the international community and consensus people of the world is to take all necessary steps to end the punishment and oppression that the oppressed and victimized Palestinian people have suffered for years, and to raise consensus voices louder in continuous action against oppression. As Mr. Nelson Mandela, the great hero of African people, we know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. Likewise, we say, unless Palestinian is free, the world is captured. I hope that the conference will contribute to the effort towards the freedom of Palestinian people.
Our next speaker.
المحدثة الثانية.
Our next speaker is
المحدث الثاني الذي جاء من
from India. He is Mr. Ayer Shankar, a former Minister of Petroleum and Gas in India. Please welcome him with a word of applause.
Friends, let me begin by clarifying that I do not represent my government or my party, but I'm here in my personal capacity to voice what I believe is the view of hundreds of millions of Indians. Our numbers have grown exponentially since Israel began its inhuman assault in Gaza without caring for the thousands and thousands of innocent lives they were taking of non-combatant Palestinians, men, women, children, babes in arms, the physically handicapped, and the aged. It is also a crying shame that Western people and the Western media have been so biased as to ignore, in very large measure, the 1,000 cuts the Palestinian people have suffered since the Al-Nakba of 1948, right through to the Al-Nakba, the second Al-Nakba of 2023. It shows that over a long period of 75 years, the Zionists have learned nothing of human suffering or human kindness. There can be no peace in Palestine without justice. Justice demands
في فلسطين إلا أن يوجد العدل هناك وأن يعطوا
state in their own homeland. Anything short of that will only result in the Palestinian resistance growing. No force on earth can stop the resistance from going until justice is rendered to the Palestinians. They have been rendered homeless in their own homeland. We have just heard the Honorable Nkosi Mandela and will be further hearing about Nelson Mandela's views on the suffering of Palestinians. At the BRICS Foreign Ministers Conference a few weeks ago, the President of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, had set out South Africa's position. He said, and I quote, "The actions by Israel are in clear violation of international law." He added, "The collective punishment of Palestinian civilians through the use of force by Israel is a war crime." President Ramaphosa went on to say, "The deliberate denial of medicine, fuel, food, and water to the residents of Gaza is tantamount to genocide." We thank His Excellency the President for drawing the world's attention to Israel's 1. Violation of international law, 2. War crimes, 3. Genocide. In this context, may I remind this distinguished audience about what Mahatma Gandhi said in 1938 regarding the proposal to establish the State of Israel. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Palestine belongs to the Arabs in the same sense as England to the English and France to the French." In 1947, India was the only non-Arab, non-Islamic state in Asia to vote against the partition of Palestine. India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, had seen the horrors of the partition of India and was therefore opposed to partition as a way of resolving issues of nationhood. He advocated a single composite state of Palestine in which Arab and Jew could live together in peace and harmony. As that proposal was not accepted, the Security Council in 1967 came up with the two-state solution. This was never sincerely accepted or acted upon by Israel. Israel also betrayed the Palestinians on the Oslo Accords. Hence the Intifada, hence the continued armed conflicts, hence October 7th. There is only one way the conflict can be ended: struggle with peaceful dialogue. As we are in Mandiba, Nelson Mandela's country, let me recommend the Mandela Way. The Mandela Way combines armed struggle with reaching out to the enemy. The Gandhian Way with this invitation. Shukran jaziran, Fiman Allah, long live Palestine.
The next speaker is a member of the Fatah Central Committee and a Palestinian Legislative Council. This is Mr. Abbas Zaki. Please give him a warm welcome of applause as he comes to the stage.
رحبوا به من فضلكم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, most merciful, most
الإخوة
gracious.
جميعا مع حفظ الألقاب، التحية لكم والمحبة والتقدير إلى هذا البلد العزيز. وأنا أفخر أن أقف
And I'm proud to stand here on this stage in South Africa, the country of Nelson Mandela, the revolutionary leader, and still he paved the way for everyone's freedom. However, that road's still not complete. It still needs everyone's efforts against the Zionists, the American dominist, and the Western dominist. To fulfill their inspirations and having a second Nakba happening in Palestine. However, the country of United States, USA, is the results of the seven European countries who have studied in the year 1901 to assert their dominance on the entire region, to assert their dominance and steal the region's resources. Today, Also, there was discovered oil in the northwest of Gaza. Our problem that oil is the life for the West and death for the Arabs. However, the Arabs are the ones that own the oil. They spending the Arab oil's money in Manhattan and the US. However, Arabs are the ones that have the oil, lack everything. They even said in Paris, there is no Palestinian people, it's an imaginary people. Even within our Jewish state, there is no such thing as Palestinian people, that's what they said. Also, Netanyahu has said in the UN that Palestinians are only 2% of the Arab nations and there is no value or weight for them with the Arab people. What is this? Palestine does not comply to these sayings. And on the 7th, it was a clear statement to all the Arab countries who own great armies and scared of Israel. It showed to everyone that Israel is not an invincible army. Just us, within minutes, we have made what you couldn't do in years. This was a lesson to whomever wants freedom, dignity, to get together globally to stop this ego, this extermination war. I cannot understand that there is a Muslim person or a Christian person or even a human being, you would see this crimes, hideous crimes in Gaza, and would just stand and watch and not present anything or do anything towards it or about it. So, God's willing, we are victorious. Because the Prophet in the house of Maqdis in Palestine, and I stand here and I salute everyone that his house was the house of Maqdis. The real power, the real strength is for whomever salutes our coasts. And I greet and I salute Lebanon, and specifically Hezbollah, who's always been an assistance or help for the people of Palestine. Today we see there is a disaster, and they have a bigger disaster. The north of Palestine. They are in their hotels. However, we are in our tents and our graveyards. Till this day, us surviving this is just a signal or a sign that says we are the ones who are victorious. The martyrs in Algeria, they have had a similar struggle to us, however they were victorious at the end. We do not cry on our martyrs or for our martyrs. Martyrs are in a very good place. They fought for the oppressor that oppresses people and does all these crimes against humanity, against laws. We do not have a lot of time or space. However, I just want to tell you that we need to clarify in this meeting of ours, in this free country, in this great country, that was unanimous to cut ties with the country of Israel. I salute the people of South Africa that had not changed their stance towards the cause. As Nelson Mandela, rest in peace, as he said today in his 10th anniversary of his passing, like he said, the liberation of South Africa is incomplete before the liberation of Palestine. And I tell his grandson, Mandela, keep your head high always. Because your grandfather is teaching people lessons in humanity, to end that Western dominance. And now there is a new world under formation, and the previous world order is completely rejected. With the strength and the fighting of Palestine, this cover of this hideous face of Joe Biden, who is assisting in this war, and his External Affairs Minister, who is also softly working towards helping this oppressor. So we have to always protest on the roads. I salute our Jewish in America that always said, do not kill the children of Palestine in the name of Judaism. In England, when the government has said that people should not come out on Saturday, however, almost 500,000 came out to the roads that day. These are the governments that will follow the demands of its people. However, us as Arabs and Muslims, we have to put everything in our efforts to be victorious. They want to displace the Palestinian people to Egypt, Turkey, and Yemen in the return of money. The land of Palestine is not for sale. It's not evaluated with money, however, its value is in souls and blood. And with time, we'll prove that we are definitely able to change, and we will be victorious against the Zionist regime and the United States regime. I apologize for our lengthy speech. However, I'd like to thank everyone, and I would like to say that the small group of people in Gaza is the one that is moving the entire globe, and it's free people. And in Gaza, where our Prophet Muhammad was, and Jesus, Isa, son of Mary, was. Peace be upon you, from a country that believes in peace and works towards a free Palestine.
Thank you, Mr. Abbas.
شكرا جزيلا للسيد عباس. وهذا كانت والسبيكر الثانية هي رئيس اللجنة في البرلمان لبنان، وهو الإبراهيم المسوي. كان اسبقوا له على أن يأتي على هذه.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بفضل الله، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على من بعث رحمة للعالمين، سيدنا ونبينا حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد، وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين. السلام عليكم إخوتي أخواتي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. في إيماني وفي عقيدتي وفي فهمي أن اللغة العربية هي لغة القرآن، هي لغة أهل الجنة، هي أفضل وأعظم اللغات طرا وقاطبة. ولكنني أبحث كما تبحثون أنتم عن الفائدة، وأرغب أن أعمم المعنى لمن يعرفونه، وأني لن أقع في خطل الإعجاب بالذات والنرجسية لأقول أنني سألقي عليكم قولا ثقيلا عظيما وبالتالي على الناس أن تستمع، ولكن أقول أنني ما كنت سأقوله باللغة العربية لن يعطي من يتحدثون بالعربية شيئا إضافيا، ولكنني ونزولا عند رغبة المنظمين لهذه الحملة سأتحدث باللغة الإنجليزية، لأن هذا الموضوع سوف يعطي إضافة أكبر للذين لا يتحدثون باللغة العربية. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. First, as I start my speech, all my thanks go to the global campaign for the return to Palestine, and my special warm, heartful thanks go to the hosting country, South Africa, with its world iconic symbol and example of righteous and just struggle against tyranny, Nelson Mandela, who is alive now, who is alive and is now among us through his grandson, MP Mandla Mandela. All the respect. I extend my greetings to you from Lebanon, from Hezbollah, the greetings and salutations of martyrs, the family of الشهداء من لبنان as well who struggled and continue to do so. الذين جاهدوا resistance fighters who are now, as I am addressing your esteemed conference,
كما أتحدث معكم
in support of Gaza and the
والجاهدون يقاتلون في جنوب لبنان ضد إسرائيليين.
I did prepare a speech and I sent it to the organizing committee. But you know, all of us, when we prepare things, we want to talk.
عندما نجهز شيئا
And I now want to make a real major shift in my speech.
والآن أريد أن أكون
I wanted to mention has already been mentioned by many of our colleagues who came.
ما أريد أن أتحدث عنه فقط المتحدثين كثيرا قد تحدثوا عن كثيرا عندما أراجع يعني عن كل ما يتحدث من قبل.
I'll go to my place, blah blah blah. This is not what I want to happen.
هذه ليست ما أريد أن أقوله، ولكن العملية هي أقوى من القول.
Talking now, it's
ونتحدث الآن
more in pain than in anger.
وتحدث
We would have expected
بقوة.
some Islamic countries
ونتوقع من بعض الدول العربية
with the Israelis as did South Africa who stopped an Islamic.
في فلسطين وهناك أكثر من 100 شهيد من اللبنانيين من الحزب الله.
Cut the relations. Stop the trade.
وهناك العلاقة الذين عملوا علاقة مع الإسرائيليين.
Our topic today.
الماجة التي تحدثت اليوم والفلسطين ليست هي فلسطينية.
Palestine has never been at any time an Islamic cause. Palestine has been from the very beginning to the end a humanitarian, a human cause. If you are not a human,
فلسطين هي أرض الإنسانية منذ البداية.
all of us are Palestinians and they should be Palestinians.
كلنا فلسطينيين لكي نحرر الفلسطين.
Is this true and the crucial determination of whether you are a human or you are not.
لأن الفلسطينية ما يقرر لأنك إنسان أو غير إنساني.
I should like to say a very simple thing.
أريدكم وأن أتحدث معكم لأن كلام بسيط جدا.
The support from the Gazans.
الاحتلال يجتهدون لكي يقطعون العلاقة لأن بعض الجزء من دولتنا هي ضد الاحتلال. لماذا تشجعون يعني الفلسطينيين؟ لأننا نشجع لأننا إنسانية. نعم عندنا إيمان ونؤمن.
Justice, in humanity, in dignity, you should believe and support Palestine. This is what we should be doing. The Israelis have cut everything from Gaza. They have killed 74 journalists in Gaza. In Lebanon, they have killed already 4. Al-Mayadeen satellite division, they killed 3 of our colleagues there, Farah Omar, Rabi' Ma'mari, Hussein Aqil, and before they killed one of the journalists, Isam Ma'mari, from the Reuters. They want to silence the voices. They want to, Isam Abdullah, they want to silence the voices against anyone who is revealing the atrocities of Israel. What we really need to say, and I'm going to finish in 1 or 2 minutes, the issue of Palestine is something to think about yourself, by your families, about your religion, about your humanity. I'm not here to try to make any fuss with anybody. I'm only of hate. This is what is Israel. We should call Israel what it is, a state of hate, a state of apartheid, a state of genocide. And it's a time for all of us to try to criminalize the war criminals. Biden and all the European leaders who support the genocide in Gaza, and we should do the same with Netanyahu and all this bunch of criminals. They should be held responsible for their actions. They should be sued and they should be brought into the international justice. Every one of us from his position can do something to Palestine. You can go and open files and suits, legal suits. We can go to the economic arena. We can go to the legal arena. We can go to the media arena in order to stop this. The last thing that I want to say, thank you, Gaza. Thank you, Palestine. You made us again feel that we are humans, that we are what we are, and believe me, go and hear them. Don't listen, not to me, not to any of the people that you might, big names. Listen to the children of Gaza. Oh my God. Oh my God. You hear the children of Gaza, they speak like leaders. Because they are leaders, they are the leaders of humanity. Thank you.
أشكر الأستاذ النائب سعادة النائب إبراهيم الموسوي على كلمته القيمة. لأجل التوضيح والتنظيم أيها الإخوة الكرام، كما تلاحظون في البرنامج كان من المقرر أن يكون لدينا جلسة بعد هذه الجلسة الافتتاحية، جلسة شهادات.
Time at the moment, as you see in front of your own eyes, you've got few more speeches that you'll listen to, and right after, without discontinuing, we will listen to one of our witnesses from the land of Jerusalem. We had few people that were supposed to attend, but one of them now is Mr. Firash Al-Tamimi, the father of our martyr Musab Al-Tamimi. And now, our brothers, we our beloved attendants, I start with greeting and a lot of thanks I give to Mr. Mandela and to all the organizers of this campaign, the Return to Palestine, and the 10th anniversary of the great Nelson Mandela. It's been 10 years ago that the icon of freedom fighters and everyone that fights for liberation, Mr. Nelson Mandela, a freedom fighter, the historical freedom fighter for human rights and human dignity, and he is the great freedom fighter that raised his voice loudly against racism and segregation, against these colonizers that have oppressed the people of the world and Africa. We have stood next to the South African people every day. We are in continuous remembrance of Nelson Mandela, while we fight the oppressor who has been oppressing our people for the past 75 years, that is brutally doing a clear ethnic cleansing towards the people of Palestine. As you know, as if you have suffered previously in this country from the racial segregation and apartheid, have been raided. Israel is the last colonizer in this world. Well, we will not stop expanding its land and committing war crimes, not caring about human rights and the international community. From Mandela's grounds or Mandela's house, we call for every free person